It's Flipping Out Business, Flip Learning for AQA A-Level Business Studies. So this is unit number 6, video 4. So unit 6 is the HR, so decision making to improve HR performance. And video 4, we're going to be looking at job management and HR flow. So what we're going to cover is, in this video, we're looking at job design, Hackman and Oldham theory, recruitment, training and development, redeployment, redundancy, and dismissal. So first of all, we're looking at job design. So job design is all about the tasks and responsibilities that are grouped into a specific job. So if you ever see like any kind of job description or anything like that, everything needs to be designed to match that job description, or at least the job description needs to be designed to match the actual tasks. So job design can have a significant influence on labour productivity through links with motivation, or even just sort of giving focus as well. But boring, repetitive jobs can often lead to poor quality and low productivity. So the first thing that we're looking at really is job enrichment and job enlargement. So these are two different concepts, although they have a similar effect. So job enrichment is where you give workers more interesting and challenging tasks to complete. So this will be more motivating for them, as it gives them a chance to further themselves and to experience new ideas. And in particular, Hertzberg, when we're looking at motivational theory, recommends this approach. Job enlargement, however, is where you give tasks that are of a similar nature or complexity, but they aren't anything that's particularly challenging. So you might have job rotation. So in this case, people might work at one section on a production line, and then a couple of weeks later they'll move to another, and then another, and then another, and then back around again. So the main influences on this are things such as maintaining quality. So this is probably the most important factor. So your jobs should be designed so that they support the required level of quality, particularly customer service. So you've got to keep your employees happy, but also you don't want loads of untrained people going into certain areas. Gives you operational efficiency. So job design should be closely integrated with operational requirements, so to ensure that employees have got the resources to actually be productive. And labour retention, so this is poor job design is a common cause of high staff turnover and low employee retention. So if you've got poor job design, people don't really know what they're doing, they're much more likely to leave. And then finally, it's the skills of the workforce. So employees can only undertake jobs effectively if they have the skills required. So you need to look at training. So Hackman and Oldham, I can never say that right, Hackman and Oldham. Two sort of psychologists who have been looking at different ways that people want to be rewarded and want to work. So they believe that employees will perform well when they are rewarded for the work that they do, and when that work provides them with satisfaction. So in other words, you need to actually think about, well, do employees want to work? Well, great. So if we give them the work to do and they actually enjoy it and they are satisfied by it, then they are going to be much more motivated. So they think that the tasks involved in a job are the key to motivation. So it's essential to essentially indicating that a boring and monotonous job stifles the motivation to perform well, whereas the challenging job enhances motivation. Now they looked at 5 different skill sort of areas. So they looked at skill variety. So is there a chance to actually try different skills? Is there task identity? Do they understand what task they're meant to be doing? Task significance, do they understand how important the significance of it is? And that all ties into the meaningfulness of work. Now, on top of that, their responsibility for work outcomes gives them their own autonomy, so that they are in charge of their workforce or their work results. And then finally, knowledge of work outcomes, so they get feedback on how well they've done. So if you are designing a job spec, or if you're designing a job description, you need to make sure that all of these are hit in order to maintain motivation in your employees. Now, Tutor actually do, and I'll put the link in the below, but Tutor to You do a really good sort of 5-minute video on this, so make sure that you look at that and get a bit more depth. So HR flow. Now, when we talk about HR flow, what we're talking about here is the management and movement of workers within an organisation. So one of HR's jobs is to make sure they get the right people in the right place at the right time. And HR flow is one of these ways of doing it. So the business will carry out workforce plans to try and manage this flow effectively. So it will always be like checked and planned. Workforce plan will audit the current size and skills and identify future needs and plans to ensure that the right people are in the right position at the right time. So in other words, they're going to look at, are we big enough for what we need to do? Are we too big? And then have we got the skills involved, or do we need to hire people in? So this includes, in the human resource plans, it includes recruitment, training, redeployment, and redundancy. So first of all, why do we actually recruit staff? So businesses need expansion due to increased sales of like existing products, or it could be that they've got development of new products, or they're entering new markets. Now, that is when you've got business expansion. Then it could be that your existing employees actually leave, so they might go and work for your competitors or other local employers. Or it could be that there are other factors such as there's retirement, or you've got sick leave or maternity leave. So in which case you would need to recruit staff there. Businesses might need employees with new skills, so you need to hire them in. And then finally, it might be relocating, so not all of the existing workforce want to go to the new location. An example of this is Channel 4 currently are looking at moving everything to Leeds. So when they do that, they've estimated that in a region of 90% of all people who work at Channel 4 in London will actually leave the company, and they'll have to hire all new staff up in Leeds, which is fine with them because they then get to hire like sort of maybe cheaper workers. They get a new like ideas and skill base come into the workforce, and the people who are in London get to stay in London and they can like search for work elsewhere. So there might be changes in employment patterns as well. So the way that we actually look at work is changing rapidly. Like gone are the days where you have like a work job for life, where the man is the main bread provider at home. It's now actually changing to a system that like a lot of people maybe are working part-time instead of like working full-time constantly. They might find that they've got increasing numbers of single parent families. So it could be the mum in charge or the dad in charge. And because of that, they need still to have the income coming in. So you find that there are much more women seeking work as well. Again, they're not relying on a partner to be providing for them. Now we've also got an aging population. So this is all part of PESTEL. So in this case, aging populations means that we've got a lot of people are living longer. And so when they retire, they're living for a lot longer afterwards. And we've got a bit of a skewer for like where the sort of average age in the country is getting higher. There could be greater emphasis on flexible working hours. So do people want to come in early, finish early, and then come in late, finish late, or even work from home, which is where technology comes in and they're able to communicate more effectively while you're apart. We've got like email, we've got Skype, we've got all sorts of ways of communicating. People rarely stay in the same job for life as well. So like a lot of people will move around. The average now is around sort of 2 to 3 years, and then you can move on to another position where you might be able to get like a much better pay or like a promotion. And then also businesses need to understand and respond to these changes if they are to recruit staff of the right standard and keep them as well. So first of all, part-time and flexible working. So here we're looking at increased numbers of people in the UK are working part-time. So this is maybe working like 16 to or less. It can actually be under 30 hours. So it could be people working 20 hours a week, or they might be working 5 or 6 hours a week. Now the advantages here is that they're cheaper to employ, so they get less benefits. You don't need to pay into pensions or anything like that. You get much more flexible workforce. So if you need to get anyone in on short call, then you've got a lot of people that you can just call in. Or if you need to like cut back on hours, you'd be able to sort of just decrease their demand. And then there's also a wide range of potential recruits. So we've got people who are working mothers who may want to restrict the number of hours that they work. It could be that maybe people are actually ill, or they're receiving benefits and they just want a few hours a week to actually work without like having to disrupt any of the benefits that they're on. Disadvantages, however, are that they are much less loyal to the company, and therefore they're less motivated to come in, and they could actually end up calling in sick regularly, and they're not really committed to the job. And it's harder for managers to control and coordinate workforce. It's a lot easier to look after like 5 or 6 full-time employees than to look after 18 part-time. So recruitment methods themselves, the way that we look at these is that there's two types. We've got internal recruitment and external. So internal gives jobs to staff already employed by the business, and it just involves promotion or reorganisation, so moving people from one area to the other. External recruitment, however, is where you go to job centres, put out job adverts, recruitment agencies, both online and offline, headhunt and use personal recommendations to bring someone from outside of the company into the company, where you'll get like a new fresh sort of set of skills and like you might be creating a new job or just filling an old role. Headhunting, for those of you who don't know, is where a company would actually go to another company, find someone off that they want to recruit, and then offer them a position or offer them the roles, like maybe with extra fringe benefits or at increased pay. So internal recruitment, the advantages here is that it's quick and cheap. I mean, like all you have to do is sort of put out an email within the company. People then are already familiar with the business and how it operates. You don't need to train anyone on how to what the culture of the business is, and it provides opportunity for promotion within a business, which means that it's very motivating for those at the bottom working their way up. However, disadvantages are things like business already knows the strengths and weakness of the candidate. Well, in which case, are you wanting to actually like pull them forward? Are you wanting to like go ahead with them if you know that maybe they've got a serious weakness that is difficult to overcome, such as poor management skills or like poor attention to detail? It limits the number of potential applicants as well, because it's only going to be people within the company. You get no new ideas from the outside, and it may cause resentment amongst candidates who do not get appointment, as they'll feel jealous. And then finally, it creates another vacancy which then needs to be filled. External, however, the advantages are that outside people bring in new ideas. So you get a larger pool of workers from which best to find a candidate, and then people have a wider range of experience. So you're getting all this fresh eyes, fresh blood coming in, and hopefully they'll be able to like maybe shake up the business and maybe add to the profits. Disadvantages, though, are things like it can take longer and it's much more expensive as well, because you've got to do all the interviews and put adverts out. And then finally, the selection process might not be very effective. I mean, like you're only going to be interviewing like people maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you're going to be offering them a position where, you know, if you know someone already in the company, then you're in a much better position to know what they are like. So the next bit that we're looking at is training. So training can be significant in any business. So most employers are prepared to incur these costs because they expect the business to benefit. Now, training is expensive if you are training someone. So you need to have a think about, okay, is it worth actually doing? So why might they need training? So it could be that you've got new employees, so you need to support them. It could be that you've got you're looking to improve productivity, or you've got increased in market effectiveness. So you've got like maybe some new things coming through the system. You could be supporting high standards of customer service and production quality, introduction of new technology systems or other change, or changes in legislation will need to be trained. So you can't just like throw a computer system in and go, right, everyone, here you go, enjoy using it, when you need to actually make sure they're trained on it. If there's new laws that come in, then you need to make sure that you are following those laws. And then it's also to support employee progress and promotion. So if you've got supervisors, they need to be trained as managers in order to manage. So potential benefits of training for the business are things like high productivity, high quality, more flexible through better skills, could have less supervision required, improved motivation because they actually see empowerment, better recruitment and employee retention as well, because people are motivated when they're being trained. And then it could be easier to implement change in the business if everybody is trained to the same level already. However, some things that it does not solve is poor management. So if you've already got poor management, then all right, you can do some management training, but that doesn't solve the problem of poor management completely. There's still going to be people who are stuck in their ways and not paying attention. It could be that you've got poor job design. So if you've not designed the roles properly at the start, then your training may be like not actually working or working towards the goal, like the goals that you need to require for the job. Ineffective or inefficient equipment. So if you've got old systems, then you're training people on new, but you're not actually updating, then again, they're not going to be very skilled at it. You've got poor production organization, or if you've got recruitment, then if you're hiring people in, you're still going to have to train them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have a lot of the skills that are required. So reasons why businesses neglect training, and this happens all the time. Loads and loads of companies will not necessarily want to train people. So they might fear that like people will be poached or headhunted by competition. So, you know, if I put someone through 6 months of training and they leave at the end of it to go and get a better paid job elsewhere, that's a lot of money that I've just wasted, gone. Could be a desire to minimize short-term costs. So you want to try and save. It does cost money, so you want to try and save some money. They cannot make justifiable investment. So, well, why are we actually like training these people? Is it going to bring us anything back? Training takes time to have the desired effect, so it's not an immediate fix. And then sometimes benefits of training are intangible, so it could be like morale more than tangible itself. So it might not actually yield many results physically, but it might improve your workforce, but it's very difficult to actually tell which is which. So induction training, first of all, this is like the way that we would actually start our training. Induction training would be the new employees coming into a job. They would meet their new colleagues, premises, and like work out the values and aims of the business. And then it depends on the size of the business. It can be a couple of days, it could be just like a morning, or it could be 2 or 3 weeks as well. So it all depends on complexity of the job, level of the position in the business as well. So typically you would come in and you would learn about the duties of your job. You would meet new colleagues. You would see the layout of the premises, so you get to know where everything is. Learning values and aims of the business so that you're on board with the culture of what's going on. And then learn about the internal working and policies of the business so that you don't make any mistakes. Now, after we've done our induction training, then we've got 2 different ways of doing training after that. First of all is on-the-job training. So here, employee receives in training whilst remaining in the workplace. So in other words, they're going to be training while they work. So the way that you can do this is through demonstration and instruction, so showing them how to actually do the job. You could have someone coach them, which is a bit more intensive method, so that like someone would come along and go, right, okay, I will stand here and help you as you learn the system, and then start to like step back and leave them alone. Could have job rotation, where they're given several jobs in succession to gain experience of a wide range of activities. So if graduates, this usually happens with them. They might spend several different periods in like, they might be in finance 1 week or for a couple of weeks, and then in the next couple of weeks they'll be in operations, so that they get to know the business as a whole. And then finally projects, so they could be put into a project team with more experienced people, and then you'll take part in activities or projects. And then the most successful project teams are usually multidisciplinary, so you'll meet people from other areas, and then of course when you go into your next one, you've got better experience and you'll be able to help out your new team. So benefits of it is that it is generally more cost effective. I mean, like, you're working while they're earning for you. They're taking revenue, they're taking sales, etc., while they're working. So they're not like just sort of sat in the back, not doing anything and getting paid for it. So usually employees are then productive, opportunity to learn whilst you're doing, and training alongside real colleagues will be a bit more motivational. However, disadvantages are things like the quality depends on the availability of the trainer at the time. So if you've got working in a bar, you bring someone in, put them in the busier shifts, it's not going to be very good for them. You need them to come in when it's quiet, learn the systems, and then let them work into the busy shifts. So bad habits could be passed on if you haven't got a good trainer. Learning environment may not be too conducive to it if it's too busy. And then potential disruption to production could occur where mistakes are made. Next, if we've got on the job, we've got off the job. So off the job training is where an employee is trained away from the workplace. So it could be that they're in like a conference room, or they could be in a retreat, or sent to a headquarters and do all the training there. So the methods of on-the-job training are things like day or part-time attendance at college, professional development courses, or online training or distance learning. So just to clarify, online training or distance learning is where you are separate and you would be sent videos, or you would send instructions and have to complete workbooks online. Now, the advantages of this is that it gives you a wider range of skills or qualifications can be obtained, so people can actually go and get these skills from registered trainers, can learn from outside specialists or experts, and then the employee can be more confident when they start their job that they're actually, they know what they're doing. However, it is a lot more expensive. You've got transport, you've got accommodation, and you've got the cost of the course as well. It could be that you've got lost working time because they're being paid while they're doing this, so they're not earning for you while they're still being paid. So that's going to hit your your revenue and your costs. So new employees may still need some time for induction training, so you might still need to do some stuff in-house. And then finally, employees now have new skills and qualifications. Well, they might leave to go and get a better job elsewhere. So the main type of off-the-job training is things like day release. So employee takes time off from work to attend a college or local training centre. It could be distance learning or evening classes. You might have block release courses where you might have several weeks at a local college and then come back to work. Sandwich courses where it could actually be a longer period of time, like 6 months or so, and then you return to work. And then you could have sponsored courses in higher education or self-study, so computer-based training. Now, a lot of companies are moving towards computer-based training. So instead of having someone come in and do all the basics like health and safety, they'll do it online instead. Now, training and motivation do go hand in hand. Assuming that training is effective, so you've got to make sure it's right, then employees might feel more loyal to the firm because it shows that they're having an interest in their workers. It provides employees with greater promotional opportunities, and then enables employees to achieve more at work. So they might be able to gain financially from this, like through promotion. So they're going to be motivated to actually do this and enjoy the training, because when you're being trained, then you know that there's something else coming up. Now, the next thing that we could do is, instead of necessarily just doing training or going hand in hand with training, is redeployment. Now, redeployment means moving employees to different jobs, departments or locations within the same business. So it could be moving people from operations to finance, or from marketing over to finance, or finance out to marketing or operations or HR. And it means that you're not going to be losing too many people within your job when you're actually having to move people around into different areas. So benefits of employment versus redundancy. So employment means that you are maintaining job security for your employee, so they feel safer. You retain skills and experience. So people who already know how to work your computer systems will stay in the company. They'll just be maybe moved to a different area where they can still use those skills. Labour resources are allocated more effectively. So you're not having to hire in or anything like that. You're not going to lose people. They're just being moved to a different section. And then you've got reduced costs of recruitment and selection, as well as training. So you don't have to worry about getting new people in. They already exist. Now, the next thing is redundancy. So this is where an employee is dismissed because the job or the role no longer exists or is required. So HR options. Now, usually redundancy tends to be tried to be avoided, but sometimes it just isn't. If you've got if you know that you might need to make people redundant, you can do a few things to stop it. So instead of actually making people redundant, maybe you just stop recruiting. And then as people leave through natural wastage, so they might actually go because they're retired or they are on maternity, don't hire anyone in for that job. Simply take what they were doing and spread it out amongst more people. Would mean that you're not having to make people redundant, which can cost money, but you're then still maintaining a cost-cutting system. It could be that you're looking at short-time working or job sharing. So again, offer out the job roles to other people, or maybe people can just come in and work 3 or 4 days a week, turn them into part-time workers. You might find that pay cuts or an overtime ban will reduce the wage costs. So again, you don't need to bring people in, or you don't need to make people redundant. You can redeploy people around as well, see if they need retraining. And then also you can encourage early retirement. So if they are, say, in their 55 to 60 range, then maybe see whether they would take early retirement, and they can start getting their pension early, as well as a payout. The whole point of HR redundancies is that you will be paying out money to people over a period of time, depending on how long they've worked there. So it can be very, very costly. If you've got 1,000 people you need to make redundant, and you've got to pay out maybe a week's worth of wage for every year that they worked 10 years, then that's 10,000 weeks worth of pay you have to pay out to these people. Okay, thank you very much for watching. For more information, click the thumbs up and subscribe to Flipping Heck Business. Please leave any constructive comments below any constructive criticism below in the comments, and video number 5 will follow shortly.